with what we're doing. We'll just switch over to machine 6, and we'll see a little bit of this in action. So there's Sagrada Familia. Have everybody been there, stared at it in amazement, thought you maybe took something the night before that's still in your system when you're looking at it? But the first thing that I really want to show you is codename Oslo, and it really is a great new offering that's going to be coming first to Office 365. But this is, you think about this as a visualization tool on top of what we're doing around the Office graph. So let me just familiarize with what Oslo is. It certainly is a code name, but it's built by the team that historically came from the FAST acquisition. So it's really evolving out of search, but really tipping from search to discovery. So this is Oslo. A couple different ways to look at it real quickly is Oslo is gathering signals about me and everything that I do. So if I share a presentation with Christian, that's a signal that goes into the graph. If I attend a meeting and I'm presented to, that's a signal that goes into the graph. If I start clicking on things, viewing them, liking them, sharing things more. So a couple of the pivots here is if I go in and look at the shared with me, you'll see here I'm presented with different cards of presentations that have been shared with me, documents that have been shared with me. Even websites would show up here if they've been shared in context with how our groups are talking together. And one example is this Office graph presentation, just to land a few points about the Office graph. What this is going to do is it's launching from our environment, our tenant in Office 365, a PowerPoint, and on the right-hand side, new technology that we're working on is how do we keep that conversation in context with, and I'll use the technical term, the object that we're talking about. The object here is a PowerPoint. Could be a video, could be a Word document, could be a lot of things. And it's not always going to be an Office object. It could be from a CRM system. It could be, just a signal that we're getting from other third-party systems. But on the right-hand side is that conversation that's associated to this PowerPoint. And I sort of am going to cheat here with this PowerPoint just to walk you through where are all these signals that we're going to program for day one. Where are those going to come from? So a little bit of PowerPoint within a PowerPoint. But if the signals are going to come from Exchange, if they're going to come from Yammer, if they're going to come from the different activities that you do in your calendar and how you instant message and who you talk to, think in terms of the Office graph growing with everything that you do or people do either directly with you or indirectly with you. So we're just going to go and circle around this concept of Kat. Kat is sharing a whole bunch of things. Sometimes she's sharing with permissions, sometimes she's not sharing with permissions in a very open way. The Office graph and Oslo on top of it will adhere to all those permissions. But if she's presented to in a meeting that she was invited to, then the Office graph will have that information. And instead of going back to the meeting invite, opening it up and hoping that there's a link to the PowerPoint, it'll just be there based on that activity. And that just feeds more and more into the graph. So as the graph starts to grow and it goes beyond Kat and Kat's team, you'll see that web of interface is very flat. It's not hierarchical. And we really get that rich interaction, again, with all those permissions in place, but all these signals are going to be coming. So, I think you would hear Christian with his consultant hat say a lot, the more you feed into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And that is absolutely true with the Office graph. The more you feed into the graph, sometimes just by the nature of things you do. One other area that we're going to really be paying attention to is when you get an email, how fast do you reply to it? This is not Big Brother watching and doing anything with that.
Sure.
Okay, so we do a little bit, but no. It's really just, it's going to give us a clear signal. If I get an email from my manager and I respond really quickly, the graph is just going to know that person is probably close to me and of some importance to me. Maybe I'll bubble up what that person does to mark more than somebody I respond to a little bit slower. So if I go through and just show you just a couple more things, when I go in, I'm going to actually search for my colleague Bill. So there's a people slant always to everything with Office 365, Oslo, and really the Office graph is just fed and all over it. So Bill here on your right-hand side, you'll see this is his hierarchical view of who he reports to, who his peers are, and anybody that reports to him. But the real value you start to see is who we both work with, that's on your left, and who we're working with currently. So I think the other huge value of the Office graph is the relevancy, the timing of it. So as we're gathering, if we were working at the same company and we're working on this presentation, the value of the content that I'm working on for this presentation would be presented to me front and center. That stuff is probably not too hard to find, But if it's relevant to prepping for a conference and it goes beyond my session, or if it's relevant to a product launch and maybe something that I'm contributing to but not leading, I'm going to discover a lot of information. And so specific to Bill, I can see here that I remember Bill had showed me this video, and that was one way that I can go and discover content that Bill thinks is interesting. So you saw in Simon's keynote the video portal, the video for Office 365. We should be launching here with good connectivity. But so you saw the video portal yesterday, and certainly the backbone of the video portal is Azure. So Azure Media Services. But the value of what I really wanted to show you is not so much the video playing, it's coming through here, but it's that same context. So this is, at the real base level, this is just another site
There's a new
of SharePoint.
work out there. It's mobile.
It's just going to be another site collection of SharePoint. But the real value of it is going to be a very central location for people to be able to upload their videos, to share them, and more importantly, just saw how you saw with the PowerPoint, is that context of the social around this video. So this video, in this context, in this view, obviously has it side by side. But if I was to share this out, if other people are commenting it in different areas, not the video portal, I'll still have that rich context, either here or no matter where I come across it. So a couple of the areas in terms of the video that I don't think Simon showed you, just to give you a little bit more flavor of what's here, is the ability to be social in terms of sharing your message through video is maybe to have your own personal channel. And I don't mean me, Mark, personal. But if I had, maybe I was in charge of the SharePoint Online product marketing and all that inbound information that I wanted to share with the field about what we're doing, what's coming next, I might create a specific channel. And just using the help desk example, this is a channel that was set up and somebody manages it. If they go in here, they can actually go and truly manage it from the look and feel. And so just to give you a little look behind the scenes, in the video portal, the person who's managing this can manage who has the rights to upload, how open it is, and even down to just the name, the color, and then the experience. And what isn't rendering here just from a thumbnail is just because this is a pretty early build, are actual videos that would be at the top that would be curated. So in context with where we're going next is back to the original view. Let me get back to where it was. And here we go. So one of the other things that I wanted to show you is the new concept of groups. So in Yammer, there are groups. And in this view, this is the Outlook web app. There's also groups. So a group is a group is a group. And are they the same? Are they different? The answer is yes. The main thing to note here as far as the direction we're going is we know there are email silos, and that's not a negative, that just happens to be where the email sits in Exchange, and that there is the repository of Yammer. What you're seeing here is what's coming to the Outlook web app first, and then certainly the client experience. At the top is my normal inbox, but as I navigate down to the group, you'll start to see what looks, hopefully, like a group conversation. But to this end user, it's email, and maybe that's their comfort level. Maybe that's their preference. Or maybe it's where they first discover, oh, hey, there's this context around, I've created a group, there's discussion there, and I can share. The other things that are coming to groups beyond the mail experience is the site as well. So this would be a specific team site, and the evolution of groups, it'll be directly tied to all this experience around the conversations, the documents specific to that group. But if I go in here and I create a new thread, and I'm just going to say, Hola Barcelona, and of course, always misspell. And I'm going to add an attachment, and this is just going to be from my computer, so go to the desktop, and of course, it's always just a little hard to find. There we go. So here's my Hi Barcelona, and one of the things that we're working on in terms of how you get content into Office 365 is, do I send it as an attachment in email, or do I put it in as something that should actually go to OneDrive for Business first? And I'm really not going to spend too much time on the OneDrive side of it. I'm just going to get this going so that we can see it. And once it does a little bit of spinning, then I'll send it off. Come on, modern attachments. Give it 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, well, I'm going to just hit send and then show you in context with another example, just so that we don't waste time. But what really is happening here is based on who I sent it to, and that would be this marketing campaigns group. What it's really doing is it's putting it into my OneDrive for Business. So if I navigate over that, I know Simon showed a lot around that. You'll see here this folder, Attachments. And as I navigate into Attachments, you'll see a couple of my tests, and then here's Hi Barcelona. And really what I wanted to land on, outside of what you saw Simon show you on yesterday, is now we've got a new object in the graph. And it's a very simple PowerPoint, but imagine this as something greater than that. And already on the right-hand side is where I can start that conversation. So by uploading to OneDrive for Business, in a connected way, the experiences are combined. So last thing I want to show you is more of that reality check in terms of real world. And then we'll head back to Christian. But so you know the network. This is Yammer in terms of an external network. Hopefully you've been using the ESPC14 site. Do we have a lot of activity? How much awareness in terms of that was there? Okay, a little bit. Of the people that were aware it's there, are you finding value in terms of asking questions to presenters, maybe even meeting up with different teams that are going to talk about different stuff offline? Hopefully so. If not, we certainly understand for a conference it's relatively new.
It's difficult to also, while during the conference, to maybe really get engaged within the online environment. But one of the great things about this, and we've seen this with the success of other events, is that leading up to and following the event. So it's not something that once we're done this week, all of the speakers certainly are going to be actively engaged within this environment going forward. So please, if you have follow-up questions, you can continue to go out to the site and use this all year long until the next event.
Definitely. So last two examples, very quick, 30 seconds each. This is the same example that we used for the SharePoint Conference US, and we had a lot of great engagement during. And the two specific groups that I managed, I was the content owner, all up. Was the speaker group. So this was about 250 plus speakers. And this is the way that we communicated to them. Hey, make sure that you know the configuration of the setup so that you know how you can land and put your desktop together. Here's the PowerPoint template. Here's everything you need to know about the hotels. Hey, here's some fun things going on. And then for me, the benefit is it was also a way for me to reach out to all those people. And it wasn't in email. It wasn't something that maybe got lost in the threshold. But it also was something that people could then reply to and then work off of. And in that context of signals, like it, reply to it, and everything there would feed the future of that Office graph. So I found a ton of value in terms of just working with a lot of external people, some of which whom I never had met until the conference, but had had a great interaction. And then the very last thing here is just a final pitch. This is not just a US only offering, but we do have an Office 365 IT Pro network that's open to the public. And I know that Christian is a part of that. It's very similar to what we do for the conferences, but it's year-round, and it's a way to have that open dialogue with everybody. So we'll make sure to put that in terms of a reference on how you can get there, and hopefully you can land on that and ask questions, share best practices, do a whole lot of stuff. You have to be somebody, you have to be named and known, but at the same time, be able to reach out and connect with a lot of people.
What's great about this is that I've heard this feedback for years of people that get frustrated that they feel like they're not able to get that direct touch with Microsoft, or is Microsoft listening to some of the feedback from the community. And I can tell you that it is vastly improved using this technology, that the product team, the marketing organization, the engineering organizations, Microsoft people are engaged, they're plugged in, they are responding through these networks. So this is a fantastic, this being the leading IT Pro resource out on Yammer, you definitely want to go and join. It's, again, free to join. You go to the yammer.com/ what is the URL on this one?
It's a big, long, ugly one. That's why I put it in IT Pro Network.
Yeah. So go to find that. And add yourself to it. You'll be added very quickly, and just start interacting with asking questions and participating. There's another one that's out there you don't have on here, but you're probably aware of. There's also SPYAM, which has about 5,000 members globally, and so it's probably the largest community-driven SharePoint site out of the Yammer environment. And instead of you switching over, why don't we jump over to the Contoso, just show a couple things, then we just make the one transition.
Okay.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about as part of this is the recognition that not everyone is jumping out on Office 365 today. Not everyone is ready to make the transition 100% to the cloud. There's also a percentage of organizations that, as of today, they're saying we do not have a strategy yet for moving any of our workloads out into the cloud. But we still want to take advantage of some of these social capabilities. And so there really are options. And I just wanted to cover some of those things very quickly and jump into a couple quick demos. One here, though, that Mark is kind of highlighting. So we have this Contoso environment just to show that there is the ability for those organizations that have an on-prem SharePoint deployment but want to start using Yammer and using that as a stepstone into the cloud, is to go in. You've heard these things. It's pretty straightforward. That you have the ability, one, to go and swap out your newsfeed in SharePoint over to your Yammer newsfeed. Second, the example that we have here is you have the Yammer web part that you can drop in, and for the latest version of 2013, Office 365 is the app. But you can configure and point to your primary feed, to a group feed, depending on your need there. So you can actually configure your site templates, so as you're provisioning new environments, that you can have the Yammer app as part of that, an option for people going and expanding that out and posting over to, plugging into that Yammer conversation. I will say that as of today, it's not yet a turnkey solution. It takes some configuration to get that up and running. I actually was trying to get something installed with the help of the team, up on an Azure environment, and it was less than pretty, wasn't entirely there, which is why we're talking about Contoso. But if we can switch back over to number one.
Yeah, and the last thing I was showing here while they switch over is really just that ability for that Yammer app to be put into a portal. This particular one is more meant like a larger company intranet. And even when you size down, and I'm just trying to mimic here real quickly if I was on a Surface or an iPad, just that ability to still play with that Yammer feed in a way that is hopefully nice and friendly for people to engage with, but it's something you can program around. And to Christian's point, since that app has been out, we've released 2 updates to it, so it is getting better. We know the feedback, and in context with what we're doing with the inline social that you saw, we want to make sure that if you're on-prem, online, standing up something in Azure, you're able to pull in that conversation with certainly less hurdles of configuration and setup, but to the value of where your user is going to be accessing.
And there will be more guidance over this year about if you are planning to start making that transition, that you're able to go in and, for example, to swap out or to remove some of the native SharePoint social features.